What's going on? This is Big G from G Riders and welcome to another episode of Testing Rides. Today, I'm going to be testing out the 2019 Mazda CX-5 Grand Touring. Welcome to the 2019 Mazda CX-5. The third generation of the Mazda CX-5 was introduced back in 2017 and it improved on its styling, its build quality, its handling, and honestly I think it looks pretty good too. But here for the 2019 model year, this is the mid-cycle refresh for the Mazda CX-5. Even though it's only been out for a couple years, it's time to update it with the constant competition of the compact crossover market. So for 2019 model year, Mazda has added some new features, some engine options to make this Mazda CX-5 kind of competitive with its competitors. So for the 2019 model year, the Mazda CX-5 finally gets the bigger engine option, which is the 2.5 liter turbo, making 250 horsepower, depending on regular or premium gas or something like that. It's either the horsepower change or the torque changes. I'll put it down here in the lower thirds. But also big news for the 2019 model year of the Mazda CX-5. It now comes with Apple Carplay and Android Auto, which is excellent. That was one of my biggest complaints of all Mazda products that I've reviewed over the last 2 years or so, is the simple fact that everybody has Apple Carplay and Android Auto, and they're the last ones to do it. But now, they're not the last ones to do it. I think Toyota still kind of is the last ones to put that in their cars. But now for the 2019 model year, this Mazda CX-5 finally has it, which I'm very excited about because that was one of the missing pieces. They kind of solved the two missing pieces to me to this car is more power and Apple CarPlay Android Auto. So the Mazda CX-5 I have here today is the 2018 Mazda CX-5 Grand Touring, and this comes standard with the 2.5 liter Skyactiv inline 4-cylinder, making 187 horsepower and 186 foot-pounds of torque. Because this is a compact crossover, it weighs just over 3,600 pounds, which is average for the class, and this one is all-wheel drive, so it gets the lower the fuel economy, so that's 24 city, 30 highway, which still isn't that bad for the car with that weight. Honestly, that's about average for the class. So, for the 2019 model year, the only things that have changed with this Grand Touring model is the simple fact that this has a new wheel design, which I like these wheels a lot better than the previous ones. I like those ones too, but these ones are way better to me. I just like it's kind of a 5-spoke design, but it's a pretty intricate design, which I really like. And also the simple fact that it has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto now. Also, the adaptive cruise control now does stop and go traffic, which is definitely cool. And I think if the car's gonna have adaptive cruise control, stop and go traffic is one of those things they should just go ahead and throw in there with it, and they did for the 2019 model year. But for the most part, the styling, the interior and exterior styling is basically the same. There's only a couple small changes that I noticed. So the CX-5's pricing it's about the same as it was last year. So this one, it's about $32,000 with the Grand Touring package, and this doesn't have any optional extras. But for this year, there is one more package that you can get for $1,900 that gives you like a heads-up display and power folding mirrors, which comes on the higher trim levels of the Mazda CX-5 now, and a couple other things that could make this thing about $34,000. But the higher horsepower turbo motor one starts at about $35,000. So don't option that. If you're gonna get the Grand Touring, just get the Grand Touring. Don't get the option package. If you're gonna get the Grand Touring with the option package, you might as well get the Grand Touring with the turbo motor. So that's just kind of where I am with that. I think that's where everybody's gonna be when they go to spec these vehicles. So let's go ahead and hop in the interior and let's take a look, kind of see what's changed on the inside. So let's go ahead and take a look around the 2019 Mazda CX-5 before we get inside. So the Mazda CX-5 has not really changed much between this year and last year for its exterior styling. Only really difference is these new 19-inch wheels, which look really nice on the vehicle. But for the most part, the Mazda CX-5 is unchanged from the previous, from last year's model, in terms of interior and exterior design. I think there might be some small similarities. I think there might be some small similarities in the front here. I'll put up a picture and kind of do some afterthought comments after that, but I think there's some small differences in the front here, but for the most part, it all looks the same to me. But I think the Mazda CX-5 is very stylish and very upscale looking, and I'm glad that they didn't really mess with that or play with that too much, like they kind of did with the new Mazda 3 that just came out. Honestly, gonna say I don't like the design, but I gotta drive one to give my final kind of thoughts on that car. All right, let's see what it looks like on the inside. All right, welcome to the inside of the 2019 Mazda CX-5 Grand Touring. I'm not really going to talk about the interior too much because I already did a full review of this car last year, and a lot of the stuff hasn't changed in here. I'll just kind of show you the things that have changed. First of all, the Mazda CX-5 now has this new like half digital instrument cluster here. So we're going to start the car here. So as you can see there, the instrument cluster is now half digital. So it has like the ring on the outside here, but as you can kind of see, that's kind of a whole screen there, and you can kind of change through it in the info thing right there, which is pretty cool. Only thing I wish they would have did is I wish they would have added like a feature to where you can change the way this looks, but I'm sure that might be coming later in a later model of this car. But I like the new setup of the instrument cluster, and this car does have, let's go ahead and look at the infotainment screen here. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So for the 2019 Mazda CX-5, there's also some new changes that I noticed just by driving it, kind of about 200, 300 miles. And so let's go ahead and talk about those when we get out on the road. Welcome to the driving portion of the 2019 Mazda CX-5 Grand Touring. Let's go ahead and hop out on the road and see how this thing drives. Welcome to the driving portion of the 2019 Mazda CX-5 Grand Touring out here on the road. Sorry about the shaky footage. Both of my GoPros died on me, so I'm currently have my DSLR strapped up to my windshield on my mount here. So it's gonna be a little shaky because it's kind of heavy and this road is not the smoothest road in the world. But all right, so welcome to the 2019 Mazda CX-5 driving portion. And the first thing you notice when you hop on the road is how kind of tight the Mazda CX-5 feels. I talked about this in a lot more detail in the video that I posted last year of the review of the Mazda CX-5 Grand Touring, and this updated model keeps that same characteristic of kind of like the tight, great handling compact SUV, for $33,000 or so like that. And I mean, and I'm gonna keep saying the same thing, like it's not very fast, but now there's a solution to that in the form of the turbo model. So that's definitely nice that that's an option now for the 2019 model year. But really, it's not any slower than like say like a base engine Forester or the 1.5 turbo Ford Escape, or the naturally aspirated 4-cylinder in the Hyundai Tucson. So it's like kind of like a little bit better than those engines in terms of power and torque, but not much better than that. So the handling is still really tight. The steering feel is still pretty nice. The kind of the rotation around corners is really nice. But there's a couple new things that I noticed in this vehicle that I didn't notice before, because last time I drove this vehicle, the ground was a bit wet, so I didn't really get a chance to explore this a little bit more. So I have been throwing this car around some corners, and one thing that I noticed is the torque G vectoring system sometimes overcorrects you in the corners. So basically I'll be going into a corner I'll be kind of turning into a corner and gonna rotate around, and sometimes the Mazda, the car kind of rotates me around too much, and I felt that was weird a couple times. But maybe it's just because I was going to the corners kind of hot, but it's just sometimes I think it overcorrected a little bit too much. And also another weird thing that I noticed is on these 19-inch wheels, this ride is a little choppier than I remember it being. It's a little bit more, it's a bit too firm. I know that Mazda was trying to go for a great handling small compact crossover, but I feel like this 2019 model is a little bit more rougher riding than the previous one. It's not a bad ride, it's just a little bit choppy, because you will notice if you go drive one, is if you're driving down the highway and the highway doesn't have the best like road quality, you'll see the LED lights kind of like going up and down as the car is kind of moving around, which is kind of interesting. But also, it could be that I'm a little spoiled because I do have a 2007 BMW 328 wagon. I mean, I haven't put it on here yet, but that video is going to go after this video goes out. But I've been used to that nice luxurious ride of that car versus, you know, a little bit more firmer ride that I got used to on the GT in my Golf GTI. So one thing that I would say too, like this vehicle, I've loved the CX-5, and I'm always will love the CX-5. But you know, this car is $33,000 and $34,000 with a couple options on it. And honestly, I think that for me personally, and I think that if you're looking at a Grand Touring CX-5, that you should, and if you don't really care about the fuel economy that much, I would just go ahead and go up to the turbo model, because the turbo model, I forget the name of the trim level. I think it's like the Grand Touring Reserve or something like that. I'll put it in the lower thirds in this screen here. But the Grand Touring Reserve model is $35,000. This is $33,000, almost $34,000 with the same options that car has on, except that one has the bigger engine. And I definitely think that's the model to get here. But the thing about it is, like, just because that new turbo model out does not mean you should be overlooking the naturally aspirated 4-cylinder model, because this is still a great handling, great driving, great feeling SUV. It's very comfortable, it gets pretty good fuel economy, and it just feels nice, safe, and secure on the road, especially, you know, at highway speeds. And it just feels like it's a great car. Like, I can't stress enough how great of an SUV the Mazda CX-5 is. Only couple things that I would say is a little bit questionable is the backseat space isn't great. You guys know I'm over 6 feet tall and over 350 pounds. I do fit in the car pretty well, but the backseat space with the seat back for me, the backseat space isn't great, but it's still usable. But honestly, with a lot of these small crossovers, when I put the seat back, there's not a whole lot of backseat space. There's not a whole lot of backseat space anyway, and I don't have the seat fully back either. So one cool thing that I didn't really talk about before with this vehicle that I really like is the driving position. So I really love SUVs that can give me have my legs at a 90-degree angle when I'm driving it. So like I'm kind of like sitting, I'm basically like, it's almost like a motion of like sitting in a chair versus like sitting in a car seat where you're kind of low and you're more at like a, you know, closer to sitting straight or laying down versus sitting at like having your legs at a 90 degree angle. I love that, and that's one of the cool things about the Mazda CX-5. A lot of crossovers do that, but I think the Mazda CX-5 feels exceptionally well in terms of that. The seats are pretty comfortable. Like I talked about that last time. They have pretty good support. It did take me a little bit to get used to get a good seating position, but you know, with any car, it does take a minute for you to get kind of used to get acclimated to driving the car. And you know, once I gotten this nice seating position, I haven't had to move it at all or adjust it at all. It's perfect. And you know, the Mazda CX-5 is just a great little SUV. And you know, if you're looking for a fun to drive, very high build quality compact crossover, and you don't want to go up to like a luxury model, the Mazda CX-5 is almost the best you can get for, you know, almost the best you can get under $40,000 in terms of build quality, price point, features for the money, all that stuff. So if you're looking for a compact crossover, you should definitely take a look at the Mazda CX-5, whether that is a Touring or Grand Touring or any of the higher models of the Mazda CX-5 lineup for the 2019 model year. And if you like this video, hit me with a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, keep riding me. Thanks for watching.